Nerd Reactor, roll out.
What's up, everybody? John here from Nerd Reactor, and I had the chance to chat with Brian Tyler, composer extraordinaire, who has worked on a lot of projects, including the Super Mario Brothers movie. He's worked on Scream 6, on Fast 10, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. He's done F9. He's done Rambo: Last Blood, The Mummy with Tom Cruise. He's done the 2017 Power Rangers movie and Avengers: Age of Ultron, the Expendables movies. He's done Iron Man 3, and on the video game side, he has done Assassin's Creed Black Flag. He's done the F1 video games. He's done Far Cry 3, Modern Warfare 3, and he's worked on so many projects, and we talk about a lot of that. And this interview was done in January, so there are things that he's talking about as before its release. For example, the Super Mario Brothers movie. So we talked about that before the movie came out, and we talked about his scoring of Awakening at the Wynn. It's the Las Vegas show that's happening there at the hotel, at the casino hotel, and also his project Are We Dreaming? And we also talk about him getting to meet Shigeru Miyamoto, Koji Kondo, the composer for the Super Mario games, and breakdancing, his love for that, his love for magic, his love for being a nerd, talking about Dune, Star Wars, etc. So without further ado, check out my interview with Brian Tyler.
So Brian, yeah, all the other projects, we can talk about that later too. But right now, Awakening.
Yeah.
So you work on different projects, like one project after the next. So Awakening, what do you remember about Awakening? Like, what was that like for you? Like, how did you get brought on board?
Well, Awakening was really a very unbelievably cool project, not just because it's a great show and with amazing people working on it, and the Wynn's fantastic, and Baz, the director, and the cast and everything. If you take it really to its core, I was introduced to the director because he was listening to my music when he was trying to think of who could tackle this, because it needed to have this angle that's very much like, it's like electronic hip hop production songs, but also someone that could do score. And he was imagining, score like in terms of film score with orchestra and all sorts of instruments. And I was trying to think of who did both, and he came across me from my work, and saw some clips of me playing like EDC as like an electronic artist, but conducting my concerts. My music was like the London Philharmonic, and like all these two different sides of me that are completely disparate. So he asked, he's like, who knows Brian? And he thought of John Chu, who directed. He's a great director of Crazy Rich Asians and many movies, and I scored the music for Crazy Rich Asians, and so they got us in contact, and he the way he talked about it is like, this is a story about inspiration. It's done through music, magic, and dance. And the thing that Baz didn't even know, one, music, absolutely. And also he said this is going to have electronic music, hip hop, world music, and even like score with orchestra and all sorts of things. And you're the only person I can think of that does all those things. And he sat all weekend. He went away for the weekend to just sit down and just listen to my music all weekend. And by the end of it, he's like, I know you're the one. My father's a conductor of orchestras. He says there's no one in the world that can do it. All these things. It was just the sweetest phone call. The thing he did not know was that not only does this sound amazing to me as a project, but my other two loves since I was a kid growing up wasn't just music. It was magic. I would do magic shows. I would do parties. I would do illusions, and I like looked up to all like the close-up magic to the illusions. I knew the history of magic. I had Robert Houdin's book and Robert Houdin, and also Harry Houdini, and all these things. I knew the history of magic. Also, since I was a kid, I was like a breaker and a pop and locker and a dancer and choreographed and did all that. So basically, the three elements of the show were the three things that I like artistically have not just cut my teeth on, but have dedicated my life to. Even my show, Are We Dreaming, has a choreography and dancers that I was doing separately from is my own project in parallel with Awakening. They had these same exact dancers in both,
Oh
and
wow.
yeah, so it was more than kismet and coincidence. It was it just I was like, look, I'm in. This sounds amazing, and the ambition of the project too, being the wildest, most spectacular experience that could be provided in Vegas with the show being in the round and the spectacle and the visuals. But the thing he's like saying, and is like, this is a musical essentially. The entire show is music. The story is going to be told by music. We want it to translate to any language. We want anyone to be able to come to it and understand what's going on, and also feel the emotion of the journey of this of you know, good good over evil, of the triumphs of the will to do the right thing, and to bring people together like darkness and light do throughout the show, and the magic is literally born. So to me, it was like, it really was the culmination of the fact that, you know, I've worked on hundreds of records and I've scored like 110 movies over the years, but this was something that not only was the culmination of that and my interests, but it was something that brought it all together in one live show. Really beautiful.
And was it different, like the process, like, because usually with movies, like it's typical of them to shoot first and then what, you come in to score, right?
Yeah.
With this one, what was that like? Were you on board like the whole time and then seeing like, let's say, storyboards?
Yeah, I mean, this story was evolving as I was writing the music, because I had to write the music before. It's really, the whole process is inverted. The process is inverted because on a film, typically, you would they shoot it like you said, and then you're kind of you are illuminating the scene with the music that would go to whatever the editor has put together. And sometimes they, you know, it moves around, of course, but in that way it's a reactive process. And in this way, this is completely the inverse. They haven't even staged it yet. When I start writing the music, we sit down with Kelly Sue, Baz, and myself, and we start talking about story ideas for just one world to the next. So it's kind of like, as you've seen Awakening, it's, you're in one world, and it is takes you on this journey. Then the main characters go to the next world, and it takes you on that journey. But that's all we have. So it was kind of like we would sit around, and it was really like story building and world building. And I would start writing the music at the onset of even just a seed of an idea, where sometimes they wouldn't even know exactly how you get from point A to point B, but the music then would come alive and it would dictate the tone of it. And all of a sudden the story kind of takes its cues from the music. And of course, all the choreography, like Nolan Padilla and all the great choreographers and dancers would come after the music. And even a lot of the costume design would be altered. When they would hear it, they'd say, oh my gosh, this sounds more tribal or more hip hop or more magical or whatever it might be. So it was, you know, I was on it for over 2.5 years as this process would happen, and we would see what it would look like, and then I might tweak the music to kind of emphasize this moment that we didn't even know would exist at the time I wrote the music in the first place. And it would just evolve, and in that way, it's very much a living, breathing thing.
The world is like the world is like here, there, like just different themes, and if there's like some kind of like the middle ground, that you're trying to bring everything back together for
Well,
this.
it's there's really more. The music ends up being something that like on a film, unless you're a musical, the music is in service to something, and really this is the inverse. No matter how we would do the scene, whether or not there's an illusion that happens or dancers or we're trying to convey some kind of point, we realized that the music was really driving the whole thing in a way, so we could minimize dialogue so it'd be understandable to everybody, but on a really a cooler scale, just an artistic, experiential scale. The the being music driven like that, it just makes it a lot more emotionally impactful because you're relying on um, an abstraction like music to, which is like sound um, done in a way that creates a feeling, which is honestly a privilege that we as human beings at all can understand music. It's a very it's something that is can be easily taken for granted. We're every day music is music. Oh, that's music in a way that it kind of just exists. And but I mean, if you really think about it, and especially with Awakening, if you zoom out, um, most it, human beings are unique in understanding what music is, that we can hear an infant across any culture can hear a certain chord versus a different chord, and studies would show that their face would light up and they'd smile or they'd frown or they'd laugh. And the fact that we have this common universal language, when people say music is the universal language, it's more true even at the kind of genetic atomic level than we even care we can even understand. So with something like this, the music being it's like this um secret yet out in the open, um not weapon but tool to create the best experience possible. So there are times where music, if you've seen it, there's a moment where uh, darkness and light kind of embrace, and they're just on the stage, and the theme comes up, and it's really like a voice singing it without lyrics, but just it's a really beautiful moment. And we just kind of cleared everything out. And there's really it's one of the kind of most emotional moments in the show. Every time I've seen it, people cheer and they cry and in this moment, but there's really it's a very minimalist thing on stage where these two beings are embracing. And I think when you see something like that and you realize, wow, the power of what human beings can do coming together to create something like that, and and the experience can be so unbelievably powerful when it's driven by music. And the fact is, this is a story, and this is an adventure, and it's a spectacle that is different than, for instance, a concert, because it has this it takes you on this literal journey of these characters going from here to here, and what are they going to learn, and are they going to achieve their goals and things. And when it's told through music, it's a big responsibility for me, because I realize that every emotion that's going to be felt out there by people that see it for years, twice a night at the beautiful theater at the Wynn, they're hearing that music, and that is what's guiding their entire experience
Mm-hmm.
in a way that is unlike any other type of form of entertainment, literally from concert to movie to anything. And so the responsibility was just to try to make that experience as amazing as possible was high, and it was something I worked really hard on to bring. So it's always wonderful to just go to the theater and sit with people and look around and see when they come alive, when Blastilla comes on at the beginning, the black and white ball, and then the beauty of the embrace at the end, and then the reveal of some incredible feat of illusion also at the very end that peaks with the music as well. So as I kind of just keep talking about it,
Yeah. No,
it's
no, you're great. Yeah.
yes.
But
Yeah.
okay, yeah. Going back to you're talking about just seeing it in person, like just seeing a reaction. So, what was your reaction like? Because typically, you're creating something after the fact. Let's say you're watching a scene, right, and you try to like create the mood for that scene. This one, you're creating
Yeah.
something out of nothing. And then
Mm-hmm.
and then you get to see it live in person. Like, oh, this is what they did with this. So what was that like seeing that?
It's incredible. I tell you what, when I went in, so I saw a rehearsal about 2 weeks before, and then leading up to it, I basically like practically lived there. But at the end, they really pulled out all the stops with the mix and essentially really, as I went into the theater, just thinking, boy, this is a packed house. I wonder how people are going to react. Being there with the people, just the public seeing it, and then I knew that the people that worked so hard on it were also there, and I'm good friends with everybody on it, including Craig Billings, who's the CEO of Wynn, who's amazing. And I was, we're all just kind of crossing our fingers. And at the beginning, there's this moment where it's this puppetry show, and it blows out in this spectacle a few minutes later, and the show is on, and the crowd lost their minds. Right? It was just like I think because those ones that are like kind of like electronic music and things like that. I think they're expecting a certain amount of sanitization that might happen in an otherwise show that would play towards the family in Vegas or whatever. I think that is the expectation, is to play to the middle through the years with shows, because that's safer. And this does not. That track that hits, I know because I played at EDC and all these things. This is a song that is like on the edge of way more even like subversively again, like the antithesis of pop, probably more than any other. Just that one song. It is not pop, like even for like a lot of hip hop stages, whatever. It would be like kind of on the edge what you would play, not lyrically or anything. It's not a lyrical song, just the beat. It is a really hard trap to drill beat, boom, with this. It's such like what we call like such a banger that
Yeah.
the fact that it was even played in a show in Vegas is insane. Like which is so cool that people like got on it. I am friends with all the DJs, and I play shows as well. And like even when you go to a club and it's like a well-known DJ and they drop stuff, they tend to be like, you know what, that may be a little bit too edgy for us to play, even at like 2 a.m. at a club. So this is playing on the main show at Wynn, and the moxie that the Wynn had to say, yeah, we're gonna do this, and not underestimate the audience, that people are ready for something like that, and then you can go from that to emotion. And when I saw that one hit, and people, instead of going like, what the heck is going on here, they're like, they kind of got out of their seats and lost their minds. You could hear a wave of kind of scream, cry, yeah, over, like as the beat dropped, which I usually only hear if I'm playing like a music festival like Lost Lands or a Coachella or EDC or whatever, and boom, and the crowd went bonkers. And I'm looking over at everyone going, I can't believe that we did this, and that we gave the respect to the audience, that they can handle it. We don't have to paint everything in beige, because it's safe, and there's nothing safe about Awakening. And
Oh,
the
yeah.
fact that it goes from that to the to this Royal Scottish Orchestra, which I conducted for, with beautiful piano and an aria with an opera singer and all this stuff all the way through, and you step laddering between these pieces so it makes sense. It's not like you're going from one to the other and you don't know where you are. It all beautifully kind of layers together and becomes one big piece. So for me, seeing it live, I was kind of pleasantly shocked at how how that impacted the audience. It was beautiful. I was like crying. So was my wife next to me, not just because the emotion of the scenes, which we knew, and that was later, but because we felt, wow, this is one show where it was done right, absolutely no compromise, and that Wynn was like, yes, we're going to do that, the directors, the producers. And I went all in kind of with those things like, here's my idea as a first draft, as a composer, as an artist, but I know they're going to reject it, and they didn't.
Wow.
And at the end of the show, in tears, my wife went over to whisper to me one thing, and I did not think she was going to say this, but it was her way of saying, wow, they get what you were trying to do, and you can see it. She said, we won.
Wow.
And because the number of times you go for it, and you in life as an artist for all these years, and it gets sanitized, or they polish off the rough edges, because that's what you need to do in order to make it mass marketable, or whatever it might be. This is not that. And the fact that Wynn supported that, I can't emphasize enough how insanely rare that is, speaking for someone that is worked on hundreds and hundreds of projects.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing it solo, like Are We Dreaming, my own project, which is uniform, and I can make all the decisions. That the nail that sticks out, the hammer hits down usually, and not in this case. So that was a joy to see it in person, because then it really became reality that the show is what it was intended.
Oh yeah. And like, let's say you're performing at all these festivals and all that. Are you the type of artist that likes to listen to their own music, like on the radio or on in the car, or you're like, once you're done, you want to listen, you want to do something else?
I mean, I always want to do something else, but and this wasn't always the case. I didn't enjoy listening just like casually to my music till like the last couple years, when I started doing Are We Dreaming, because what I realized, I love working on the projects and scoring movies, and I love that. The key difference is that's telling like musically someone else's narrative. So if you're really doing exactly what you want, then you have this interesting leg up on other music, is that of course I know what I would like the most out of any music if someone else did it, right? And since I really have a facility in these different genres that I love, I'm able to do music that I can truly enjoy. So there's no, it's funny, the idea of like, for instance, with like when people you take mushrooms, right? Like psilocybin, and it does this thing that's interesting. It's kind of like this, is that you get something that's called loss of authorship. So you can microdose on something like that, and like John Lennon would do this all this. And when you would hear your own music, or you painting or whatever, you would take it in as if you didn't write it. and I it's something that I've done the last like 4 years. So what I would do is the most fair judge of your own work, because it is, you kind of almost not forget technically how you did it, but there's no ego about it in either direction. So you're not like, so if you can watch something and be fair, you could work on it your ass off on some piece, and you can fairly go, you know what, no, I'm going to change that because it's not right there. And you can fairly judge it. But also the coolest thing is you can play something that you did, and you don't have even any sense that you did it. So your natural action, if it's cool, is like, damn, that's good. And I would never do that otherwise, because you let your ego get in the way of not just criticism, but you let your ego get in the way of accepting that it's awesome. And so that's something over the last few years now, because of that, I can kind of import that into my daily life, and I'm able to fairly judge my own music and criticize it or love it.
Well, yeah, gotta love it.
Yeah, as if I didn't write it, even with my musical brain and understanding of music as much as I do, which in a weird way, because of my background, I know how to analyze, since the Chopin's B minor scherzo that I love to play on the piano, or some jazz piece, or Kendrick's record. I can put it with those things and go, okay, I can listen to this and I get it. So it's really cool that happened coincidentally right before Awakening started.
Oh yeah. And well, yeah, was all the awards in the background, so like people people love your work.
It's been weird. Also, during all this, I mean, I've been doing it for a minute, but not that long. It's wild. Like, you know, with you know, like BMI, you know, the film awards and all that stuff. That I got the lifetime achievement this year. That I remember just like it. Remember 2018, John Williams. Got it, and they did this whole "This Is Your Life," and they show interviews with everyone from, like, for me it was like Kevin Feige and Stallone, all these, you know, people, Marvel, and all the people that I worked with. They all talk about me, and they show footage from Awakening or Are We Dreaming and me conducting and this whole like thing. And it's like, here's your lifetime achievement award, which is insane that I somehow gotten that at this point. But I was thinking, they haven't even seen Awakening yet. It was like 3 months from coming out, and I'm thinking, and Are We Dreaming hasn't come out yet, which is it's like the show that is so associated with Awakening. I mean, even Are We Dreaming, Awakening, this kind of connection, and really the reason I even got Awakening, where they really wanted me to do it, is Baz came across this batch of music was sent that was Are We Dreaming, my own show, visual, spectacular, almost like a modern Fantasia meets Interstellar, that I directed, and did the music. He heard that music and he's like, these are my favorite 200 songs you've ever done. It was like 200 songs. And he says, this is the template for Awakening. So there's this synergy, almost like if you've heard of temp scores in movies where they use music from other movies to edit their films. The template of Awakening was Are We Dreaming, my own show that hasn't even come out yet. So it's
so
like,
you're using your own music.
Yeah, like the finale of the whole thing. And in fact, so much so, there are a bunch of songs, including Blasilla, that opener, that are in both Awakening and Are We Dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a crossover in stylistically, but also it's just like, it's what it is both of those shows are truly me as a solo artist doing music, as me, as opposed to when I love doing it, scoring Avengers or scoring the new Mario movie that is unbelievably amazing, and Fast and Furious 10 that comes out, and you know, Crazy Rich Asians, you name it, all these movies or shows like Yellowstone and all these things that I do all the music for, they are things that imbue the exact tone of what that story is.
Yeah.
But Awakening and Are We Dreaming are me kind of as an artist let loose. And it's the first time I've really been able to do that, believe it or not.
Oh, yeah. So, okay, I want to ask about Are We Dreaming? So, the show. So, can you give me a little bit more info? Where can people see that? Or
Yeah. So it's coming out later this year. It's a massive visual show where you're in a large room. I've done it, even though it hasn't come out yet. I played like festivals, Lost Lands, where the stage was like 400 feet and there was like 32,000 people and all that. But usually it'd be inside, and you can't even tell what is real and what isn't. You go through a journey through time and space. You're flying through wormholes. You go back in time, and there's choreography. There's like unbelievable visual effects, and it's basically the music in the way that Fantasia was, where it's music dictating the visuals through something that is filmed and shot, but it's done at such a large scale that your brain almost feels like you've been there. And the basic idea comes from me reading. Stephen Hawking was talking about it, basically was saying something like, hey, you know what, eventually the last photon will peter out, light particle, and time is going to stop. There'll be no more universe, there'll be no more anything, because it's the last particle peters out. There's no more time, there's no more space, anything. And I thought, and they said, you know, that would happen unless we build ourselves, us being intelligent life builds a star that can go supernova and create what's called a stellar nursery that will kickstart the universe again. The stellar nursery will then turn into stars and planets again, and we'll keep going. So the whole idea of the entire show is at the beginning that we as intelligent beings, not just humans, but over the next 150 trillion years, need to come together for this one goal, to make it so the universe and time does not end. It's a wild, emotional, powerful, like incredible journey that is kind of and it's different every single night. The visuals and the story are different. I've done so much. We shot over 22 countries everywhere with unbelievable, beyond high definition to your brain can't even tell what's real and what's filmed.
Oh,
It just
wow.
seems like you're there. And in a way that I've done so much and I've dedicated so much time to it that I'm choosing the journey live through like about 27 hours of material that's shot, filmed, music, and everything. So that no two shows will ever be the same way unless I literally just somehow copied down and replayed it. But even if I tried, the permutations are in the billions. You could have the show just go on forever. So when I'm testing it, I've had people come like 70 times.
Oh, wow.
That they're like addicted to it to the point where they get the symbol tattooed and they're called dreamers, and it's become part of their lives as kind of a cathartic, I need this kind of thing. The positivity and outlook it gives these people has been incredible. So it's been the most incredible project of my life, not just because it is the most me, but also because it brought me awakening and my other true love and the in terms of telling story, narrative, emotion, and who we are, existence through music. And so it's been a very exciting time, and look out for it later this year. There's
Oh, yeah. Can't wait.
where it's going to be in a couple different countries where you have to go to these certain theaters that are massive that are able to show it in a way, and then I'll be touring it as well. So it's all going to be about midway through 2023 that's when the albums will start coming out, and they'll be cascading, and it's going to be a series, many albums, because we're talking hundreds of songs over time.
So coming to LA?
LA, Vegas, Dubai, you name it. It's going to be everywhere.
All right. I have to ask about, because I like Super Mario Brothers, working on it.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, video games, back in the day, let's say on the Nintendo, it's like the 8-bit sound, retro sound. So I don't know if you had any inspiration on that with this the movie, or you're more of like the orchestral?
Oh, dude. So I'm a huge I was N64, Mario Kart, and all that, but I go back, like I loved even going to like retro arcades,
Oh,
and
nice,
playing,
nice.
I'm everything from like, I think the first thing I ever saw with having to do with Nintendo Mario would be Donkey Kong, which was Jumpman was right before Donkey Kong, but Donkey Kong, and then of course like N64, Mario Kart, all the way up. I love doing those kinds of games, arcade games, but I'm also really into like, FPS and immersive games, you name it. I'm a gamer, right? And so it's been really cool over the years to like every once in a while jump into doing games. Like I scored Assassin's Creed, Black Flag, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 3, Lego and Far Cry 3, on and on. Like those are things that I love doing, and it was very rare it crosses over. Here's the thing that crossed over the other way, is that I love animated films, and I just did Rescue Rangers, which is, I love that film, and so glad it won Best Picture.
That's funny, yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome, and it's the Lonely Island guys are hilarious, and love that they brought in every type of animation from forever into one movie. But Mario, Illumination, and Nintendo teaming up to do this thing is insane. It's incredible. It is a dream. I mean, talk about, there's another amazing project that is something that I loved from the onset as a kid, and I keep on doing these projects that I grew up loving. Star Trek, Iron Man, Thor, Avengers, Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, Mario. Even my favorite sport in the world is Formula One. I scored the Formula One theme. Like, it just doesn't make any sense at this point. It's almost like someone's punking me.
Just accept it.
Yeah. So Mario. So I wanted to do pull off the hat trick. Not only do like a score, because the movie is beautiful and hilarious and spectacular looking, I want to do something that would jump off the screen in an epic way, to me, in a way that the music for E.T. did. Really thematic, really cool with orchestra and all that. Yes, conducted the orchestra. I did that in Los Angeles. I conducted it, and choir, beautiful. But at the same time, I'm playing drums on it because I play like 40 instruments or something. But I play drums, upright bass, hip hop, 808s, and then on top of it, 8-bit sounds in there as instruments, not as a gimmick, but it's something that I wanted to musically really incorporate. Can I make it? It's not just that da 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 da. It's like really imbue it. So I was thinking, well, why don't I talk to Koji Kondo, the guy that did the original? He wrote all the original Mario music, and I got to know him and Shigeru. He's the guy that created Mario in the first place back in what, 82, and these people became my friends. These are people that when I was a kid, I had gaming magazines with like pictures of them, like that. I had idols, like, it was like musicians and all this stuff, and then like gaming stuff, so like here I am. So what we wanted to do is I wanted to make it so the cinematic world of Mario became bigger than just like than ever heard before, and it is so gorgeous, the movie. But also I wanted to make sure that we really captured those original themes from the games in there as well, and that's why I talked to him so much, and I know them. I even know like the music by heart for every screen where you're waiting to change your character on different, like, so there's like way over 100 different like references and musical references to Mario as the games, but also combined with the score. And I can't say anything about the movie other than
NDA hush hush.
Yeah. It's just, the only things I'm even saying are things that people would have already heard about it, in terms of incorporating those things, but really just straight from the heart. I just wanted you and everybody to know how incredible it is, and the care that was taken to not only make it so people like us that know the game and are would, even if I wasn't working on it, we're hoping that the justice was done to it, because it's never been done to Mario before. There's a movie before, but it had nothing to do with, this is truly, from the directors to everybody, made by people that get it, like really get it. There was, and two, I remember us all being together at Skywalker Sound, listening to the mix with the music and everything, and it was like Shigeru and Koji, all of them are, Chris Meledandri from Illumination, unbelievably brilliant leader, all these brilliant people from Nintendo to Illumination to Universal coming together to finally do it right. and so, and writing new Mario themes too that now will be a part of that legacy is just, it's crazy. And this is all just kind of dovetailing right now. And so I think you're going to be very pleased. And anyone that loves Mario, I think, is going to love this movie.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a great year for Mario with the Super Nintendo World coming to Universal, Hollywood. Yeah. That's
another thing that's so wild. And also I scored years and years ago the Universal logo, which is, dun 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 dun.
Yeah, that one, yeah.
That's me. And the crazy thing, and people are like, that's you. Here's the crazy thing. When you go to Universal Studios and you take the tour, I think you do, it's like there's just something where you go into a theater and it's about, I don't know, history of things and special effects and all sorts of things. And the entire first like 4 minutes is just a documentary about me doing the music for that. And I cannot tell you how many friends that I haven't seen in a million years, they know what I do. They take their kids, or they're going to whatever, they're going with their date, and they go to Universal. And like, you're like, what is going on here? Here we are, we're in the line, and we go and we see this. We see you on the screen, and it's this theme. I didn't know you did that, for instance. Then they go over to the Fast and Furious ride. They're like, oh my gosh, that's you too. Because
you're everywhere.
And then there's the Mummy ride, which I did the music for the Mummy as well. And now there's all this thing with Mario there, which of course it is crazy. So
Yeah.
it's like an example of like also me as a kid going there and going on the Jaws ride and all that stuff and Jurassic Park, and it's like another one of those things that like a kid's dream is coming true, and sometimes it takes interviews like this for me to even take a second to even think about it because I get asked about it, but it does feel like a blur and a dream at the same
Mhm.
time. So I'm
Yeah.
glad to know that it's actually real.
Oh yeah, we can't. That means like we can't escape you. You're
Ah,
you're entering everywhere,
you know,
all of our ear holes.
we can't escape you. You know, it's so funny. That was one of the, I'm good friends with my ex. As but there's one funny thing that she did say. She says, you know what the problem is like when like it's like after a breakup with you is I can't escape you. I'm driving down the street and I see a billboard. I'm like, damn it! As a commercial comes on, oh here comes this. Oh no! Ah!
Oh my
Is it like
god.
that's pretty funny. So I guess that's good or something. Maybe it's good. It's good and bad, but mostly good. I
Yeah,
like your
just
back. By the way, what you got there in the back, I like the look of that wall. Right, both
oh
those
yeah,
walls.
yeah.
Yeah.
You can kind of see it. They're kind of blurry right now, but
No,
they're, you
dude.
know they're all gaming stuff, Star Wars, some Silent Hill, Fallout. I don't know if there's anything that
Yeah.
you've worked on. Uh,
Dude, well, do you know, you realize that this is my whole like nerd culture and all that is like me 100%.
yeah,
Like before I would go and speak at Comic-Con, I would go like
yeah,
to every Comic-Con and everything when like from the beginning before I was doing anything in that world. So it's like when I say those are my people, that's not what I mean. It's like I am my people. Like when I go and I do any of that stuff like that. I'm a collectibles guy. I collect comics. I vintage action figures, keep them in the
hell yeah,
box. Like,
hell yeah.
you know, like I'm like, no, that Tauntaun, you know, like it's you know, it's cool. Like it's an immediate like shorthand for like I like you because it takes a certain kind of personality to be like, you know what? This is really cool, and I refuse to let people tell me that I have to fucking grow up. So it's like,
Yes, yes,
you know, so
yeah.
I get it, dude.
I know, but yeah, I don't. Okay, you got to watch Star Wars burlesque parody show if you get a chance in LA area. I'm not sure.
I've
They're
heard
still. I think
about
they're
it.
still playing. It's great. It's awesome.
Uh-huh.
If you're a Star Wars fan, it's a great show. Like first, and then they have
Yeah.
burlesque elements afterwards. It's funny. So yeah,
Dude, any of that stuff that like really hits upon like something really, 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 really inside about that stuff that, you know, it's like it's kind of like the code is like you like Star Wars and it's like, yeah, how well okay, do you know who Porkins is? It's kind of like,
yeah,
you know, like it's like there are levels like people kind of this kind of, yeah, I love Star Wars or insert Star Trek or anything like I'm like, I don't think I understand. Oh, yeah, I love Star Trek. I'm like, do you watch DS9, Voyager, Enterprise? You love them all because if you don't, you're not a real right.
yeah.
If you're like, I just love classic or I just love TNG, I'm like, listen here, I don't want you hating on Janeway. I'm about to fucking, you know, I'm about to smack your mouth. Like, DS9, are you kidding me? Right, and so
Oh yeah, you're like
yeah.
grilling. You're grilling them. I can see you grilling like a little kid at a store. Like I like Spider-Man. It's like, do you really like Spider-Man?
I'm like, look, I'm spitting bars here. I don't think you understand. What Spider-Man do you mean? You know, and like, and that's like Kevin Feige is so much that way too. Mark,
Yeah.
we'd sit there. It's like talk about someone that like got over that is that guy like us, and we would sit there and be like, no, and he'd be in meetings like way early on when it was first being produced. He's like, no, they wouldn't do that. And to have leaders like that, that's why they're so successful.
Oh yeah,
Is like,
yeah.
they wouldn't do that, dude. Like, are you kidding me? You know, you're not gonna, yeah, but no one will know. Yeah, they're gonna know. And so it's gravitating me towards like all these projects that are kind of come from that comic collectible nerd culture kind of thing that is who I am anyway. And so it's because you can't fake that. You like Mario or any of this
Yeah, with
stuff.
you and having the magazine with Shigeru Miyamoto, like just me listening to you talking
Yeah,
about
dude,
that, like I'm imagining you nerding out to that. It's like getting to meet him in person.
Dude, we're having breakfast. Like,
Yeah.
what? Like, okay, we were having breakfast in San Francisco, and it was him and Koji. It was like a bunch of them with one translator, and we're just talking about life for hours. And I'm thinking, you know, like, and I met people. I'm friends with people that are like actually mainstream famous. You know, like the friend because that's who I work with and stuff. And as like I would think of that as like, that's not my flex. It's like, yeah, but you know, I just had breakfast with, and the fact is that more people than you, well, probably not you, but it's amazing how many people are really like, that is something that is, these are heroes, and they it's made millions and millions and millions of billions like smile even if they don't know their name, and
Yeah.
that's why I, as a musician, I chose to do something that I felt that I could, with music and film, and the fact that I've been so lucky to kind of do the projects that I love. Even when I was a kid, like at 12, I would write music to novels, like sci-fi novels, like Frank Herbert and all that stuff,
Oh
like
yeah.
before the movie. And I mean, what Cal Cap off of this story, this real quick. I this is before you could orchestrate with synthesis and computers, and so it's trapped in my own mind, like these symphonies that I write, because there's nothing I couldn't. There weren't samples, and I didn't have any money. I was a kid. I was 12, So I wrote this whole symphony for Children of Dune and Dune Messiah, which were my
Oh
two favorite
wow.
books. And the yeah, and
12.
and
Wow.
then yeah, at 12, and it was like this very serious, like everything from Moroccan and Armenian instrumentation to orchestra to choir, all like I had it in my mind written down. And then I got a call from Greg Yaitanes, who just won the Golden Globe for Best Director Producer of the new Game of Thrones series. I can't believe I just blanked on you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so he called me. This is like 20 years ago. He calls me and he's like, okay. And I just done this movie for him. That was all big band jazz comedy. Has nothing to do with it. He's like, look, I really trust you. I have no idea if you'd be interested in this. There's these books by Frank Herbert. I'm like, what the fuck? I have like the translator, and I like knew Arakean and Fremen. I could kind of speak it sort of like Klingon. I was really into it. And he's like, yeah, Disney's gonna greenlight the sequel, basically, to the story people know from the David Lynch Dune, Children of Dune, Dune Messiah. We're going to film those back to back, do a special. It's going to be then streaming. It'll be cable, but it's done as a full movie, full orchestra. Would you be interested in scoring it? And I'm like, I already started on that when I was 12, bro. And for real, the opening, Salusa Secunda, which is the opening of it, is on the soundtrack, Children of Dune. The entire piece and was the exact thing that I wrote for the opening when I was 12, and I made sure I did it note for note as a tribute to the dreamer that I was.
Oh wow, that's crazy. That's
Sci-fi
awesome.
nerd culture, like, yeah, thinking what it may be someday, and it's in my mind, and it fucking became real, dude. And that was so special to me and so beautiful that is actually something that can happen. That it's like the inspiration is like carried me, I think, because of that one coincidence. In a way, it gave me such hope for the dreamer that collects stuff like that and reads the sci-fi novels, that here I am sitting here with you, no music school, no film school, nothing, and somehow with these things.
Oh yeah, you did it. Love it.
Yeah, it's wild. So I tell that story to every kid coming up that is dreaming of being something. It doesn't have to be music, whatever it is. That's what I tell them.
Oh man, that's awesome. Yeah, but yeah, oh god,
You
it was such a pleasure. It's like I love chatting with you.
too, bro.